For by meriting favor, you've been saved. And you merited it through belief. Now he says, and not of yourselves. He gave you the gift of opening you up to Messiah. That was the gift. The bubble pop, as I've called it. I mean, there's no scriptural verse for bubble popping. Although he describes it here, doesn't he? You were dead and he made you alive by giving you something, we're opening up your eyes, right? In verse 18 of chapter 1, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, right? That was the bubble pop. So when he says here, by meriting favor through belief, not that you had the belief of yourselves, like you just came up with it, he gave you something so that you could believe. But then you took it and did something with it, meriting his favor. Does that make any sense? Okay? That's the gift. You were dead in your trespasses. You tell me for a fact in your life when you were, and some of you ran around pretty bad, okay? Me included, I'm not trying to say, but some of us would look at ourselves and say, we were pretty bad. Was there any thought until he put that one in your head of where you would end up right now? And that there was a God that cared about you and that there was something, was there any thought of that when you were running around that way? So he gave you a gift. Because there wasn't any thought of that. That wasn't something you can come up with on your own. He put a hole in that world, that delusional bubble of yours, and said, hi, come seek me. Well, he didn't really say hi that way. He said, he disturbed your peace and said, come and find me. I want to have a relationship with you. Come look for me, seek me. Ask, seek, knock. That was a gift. You didn't deserve that. You know what that's called? Mercy. Mercy's unmerited, okay? Grace is merited. Now, the belief though, you had no belief. You believed in nothing. You believed in just do whatever you can to survive or just take advantage, whatever you believed in nothing, vertically, okay? So he gave you the belief. He had to give you something to believe in. So it's not so much that he gave you belief. You didn't have anything to believe in, so you didn't have belief. It's not like that there was something to believe in and you just said, nah. He gave you something to believe in. He popped your bubble and gave you some sense there's something else, there's more, something's out there. I need to figure it out. I need to find it. He also gave you, in that popping moment, a recognition that you were dead in your trespasses and something needed to change. Anybody have that thought and realize that had that thought never come, you'd be dead right now probably? Okay? Because of the path you were on. But by his mercy, not by his grace, by his mercy, he chose a timing so you're not dead, even though you were dead in your trespasses, but physically you were still alive, to give you a connecting sort of touch, something to get your attention. And then you believed and took action, meriting the favor. This is a chapter that's totally used to say grace over works. But this is grace, so to speak, because of works. Now it says, oh, but it's a gift of God. Yes. He gave you something to believe in. That's his gift. He showed himself and revealed himself to you. That's his gift. But you merit favor because of what you did with the gift. You had a choice. You could have been like, go away, I don't even need to bother with that. I'm just gonna keep doing my drugs and this and wild and crazy and whatever, rape, pillaging and stealing or whatever you were doing. Or just treating people horribly and just being abusive. Well, I don't know, whatever it was, okay? You could have easily just said, I don't need this. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. So you merited favor because you said, what? There's something else? I mean, I can get out of this muck and mire that I'm in? I can climb out of this pit? There's something more possible, even for a loser like me? All right? Someone who's done, because I've had people in lots of counseling say, oh, but you don't know what I did. I said, you're right, but he does. He called you anyway. Because you're like everybody else in verse 1. You were dead in your trespasses. And by the way, it didn't say, well, those of you that were really bad were dead in your trespasses. Everybody else was, Trespasses are trespasses, all right? You know what's really funny? I've got people that are flipping out thinking they're never getting in over things that I would think are very minor, but to them, they're gigantic. And I said, if you only knew what some of these other people have done, you would be like, I'm okay. Because they'll be like, oh, but you don't know what I did. And I said, what'd you do? And they tell me, I'm like, seriously? But to them, it was huge. So I'm not belittling it, okay? And I didn't when they said it, all right? But I did help give them perspective that, hey, listen, it's still a trespass, but not, I understand why I think you're overreacting is what I said. Repent of it, let it go, move on, right? Own it, repent of it, move on. Anyway, so, but it's real to them, okay? So back to here we are, okay? So it's not by works so that no one should boast. What's not by works? His giving you the gift. You didn't earn the gift of him popping your bubble. How did I know that? Because it says you were dead in your trespasses. You hadn't earned anything. Your works at that point are not the reason why he popped your bubble. Your works didn't merit that.